Hi everyone, and welcome to your Soft Hips Vinyasa Flow class. So again, this is another short 30-minute class. It's one that I really hope you enjoy and kind of come back to. We're going to get started for class in a child's pose. So either coming into a narrow leg or a wide leg. So if a wide leg feels comfortable right now, I would suggest coming into a wide leg. If that feels like it's quite open for the start of class, feeling free to take those knees together, come down, take the forehead down, and then taking the arms out in front. So either narrow leg or taking those knees wider, as wide as feels comfortable, and reaching fingertips forwards. So we're taking forehead down to the mats here. And we're taking a second to ground here in class to just notice how the hip space is feeling. So as we start, how do the hips feel? Just asking that question, and we're really allowing the body to settle here. So closing down through the eyes and taking that attention, that awareness into the breath. And as we pause here, just noticing how that breath facilitates our movement. So even here in our child's pose, where we're finding a lot of stillness, how does the breath move through the body? So as we inhale here, do we still feel that slight rise of the chest? As we exhale, do we allow ourselves to soften slightly more into the pose? So that breath is always facilitating some sort of movement, even through the stillness. So just meeting the breath exactly where it is. So noticing. Is there anywhere in the body where the breath feels like it might be blocked? Is there anywhere where there feels like there might be tension? And it might be in those usual places. So maybe it is through the backs, through the back, through the hips. Maybe it's being a little bit sneakier, that tension. Maybe it's hiding in the jaw, through the face. So really seeing if we can find that release here. And as we breathe, next inhale that we take, seeing if we can send that breath all the way down towards the hips. So we're imagining that breath traveling through, reaching the hip space, and we find that release, we let go of that tension. An option to pause here in center for a little longer, to wait. Or maybe we start to lift through that head and we just walk those hands over towards the left. And then we allow ourselves to settle back down. So forehead coming down towards the mat again. So if you're over to the left, noticing that opening through the right side of the body. Gently stretching, long line of energy working its way down through the side of the hand, down through the arm, into the torso. Taking just one more breath here, breathing in. Exhale, releasing, slowly taking those hands back through center, walking them over to the right, and then easing down again. So this time we notice that opening through the left side of the body. Nice long line of energy. Next inhale, we find breathing in. Exhale, releasing, and then walking those hands just back through center. And then from center, wherever we are, hands start to draw back towards us, and we're super mindful here as we rise up. And we come back into this kneeling position. So taking hands onto thighs, palms facing down, and just taking a roll through the shoulders. Dropping chin down through chest and just starting to gently move through the head, through the neck. So you might inhale, take the head around to the right, so right ear to right shoulder. Exhale, back down through center. Inhale, left ear up to left shoulder. And just taking this movement, maybe the head drops all the way back. You open up through the throat. Any movement that feels good here. So it might be that it's small, you just stay with the neck, or maybe shoulders, torso starts to move. So just a few breaths. And really ask yourself here, what would feel nourishing? And then see if you can respond to that question through the movement. So just finding that space for the body to explore, to be playful. And then taking hands down when you're ready, in front of the knees, so towards the mat. Take those knees back together to start off with. If they were wide leg, tuck under the toes, and then lifting knees off. We're going to just roll back into a forward fold, so Uttanasana, keeping a nice bend through the knees, so finding that softness. You're just taking hands to opposite elbow. You might find a sway here side to side. So just allowing head to hang heavy. And again, that breath facilitating the movement, so with that sway. Option here to stay, find that stillness. Or if you wish, take that left hand down in front of the left foot. And as we inhale, straighten through the right leg, peeling right arm up towards the sky, taking that gaze up towards the hand. So again, long line of energy working its way down. Just taking one inhale here. And as you exhale, switching over towards the opposite side. So we bend through that right leg, right hand comes down in front, and we peel up through that left hand. So again, extending through those fingertips, gaze, drishti, up towards the sky. Inhaling, long line of energy, exhaling to release down, softening through both knees. And from here, as the hands find the mat again, just stepping those feet out slightly wider than hip distance and allowing yourself to calm down. So we're coming into a Malasana or a yogic squat. It might be that you're up on the toes here. If you're up on the toes, just staying there, keeping hands down for support. So you might take a block underneath your seat or a bolster and see if we can just keep with that movement. So we're finding that fluidity. So moving the weight into the right foot. Maybe you come up onto the right toes and then switching over, taking that weight in towards the left. Hands might be down, or you might have hands at heart center, elbows to the inside of the knees, lifting through that crown of the head. So your choice here. You might even close the eyes for just a couple of seconds of stillness. Maybe even a releasing breath here, so breathing in through that nose, releasing out through the mouth, letting go, and then slowly starting to walk, fingertips forwards. So as we lift up through the hips, you can take those feet back to hip distance, so take them in and then walk those fingertips forwards. So we're coming into a downward facing dog. And take anything you need here, so pedaling out through the feet, movement through head, movement through shoulders, whatever feels good. Taking any movements, just a second to settle in and then coming to find that stillness. So taking a second here, checking in with that alignment, hands shoulder distance apart, feet hip distance apart. So as we inhale, that right leg is going to sweep up towards the sky, so three-legged dog. And we're going to take a bend through that right knee and allow the right knee to rotate out towards the side. So we're finding an open hip variation. Just pausing here, taking an inhale. So we exhale, right foot stepping forwards in between the hands, and we inhale, lift up through the arms. So we're finding a high lunge here, fingertips reaching up. As we exhale, those hands come down through heart center, Anjali Mudra, and we drop the back knee. So we're arriving in this low lunge, untucking back toes. And we want to push down through this right foot. So finding a right angle between the knee and the ankle to start off with. Taking a nice inhale, and as we exhale, we allow ourselves to ease in, to soften into that low lunge. But we're keeping that core engaged. So Uddiyana Bandha, we're not losing control here. We've still got everything working hard. Closing down through the eyes for a couple of seconds. Option to either take fingers in and interlace onto that knee, or maybe you take those hands down for supports either side of the foot, so more of a runner's lunge. Wherever we are, just closing down through the eyes, really noticing how this feels through the hip space. As always, just taking that time to check in. So option to pause here, to stay in this stillness. Or if you feel like it, you might start to take a bend through that left leg. So left foot coming towards the glutes. And again, this active variation with the hands still down or the hands on the knees. Or you might choose to take this left hand around And take just a gentle tug of the foot, so just drawing that foot in towards you here. And again, it's gentle. If you've got that pull, that connection, it might be that you choose to lift the chest slightly here, take that gaze forwards. So how does it feel through the quads? Taking just one more breath here, breathing in. As you exhale, slowly releasing, so not letting that foot ping back. Hands come down to frame the foot wherever we are. And we draw those hips back, straighten through the right leg, allow the right foot to flex back towards us. So we're coming into a half split. And in this half split, just finding that breath again. So as we inhale, you might lift up through the chest slightly. As you exhale, soften down. So just taking two of these, inhaling to draw up. Exhale, soften and release. So staying with that breath here. Next inhale that we find, coming back into that runner's lunge, so taking a bend through that right knee. We lift the chest forwards as we rise. And then those hands again ground down. We start to sweep this right foot back. So we're finding that space to peel, right leg behind us. We tuck under the toes. And we're pushing down through the right foot, pushing down through the hands, gaze forwards. So almost in this tabletop position. Right toes tucked under, right leg out. Just giving a nice stretch through that foot. And then allowing right knee to come back to join left. So from this tabletop, again, moving towards that downward facing dog. So tucking under toes, knees lift off, we draw the hips back. Moment to arrive here, moment to check in. Still taking any movement that you might need. And then eventually coming to find that stillness. Coming into that left side, we inhale, sweep the left leg up this time. Three-legged dog, taking a bend through that left knee rotates out to the side, shoulders stay where they are. Inhaling here. Exhale, left foot draws forwards in between the two hands, and we inhale to rise up, finding that high lunge, fingertips reaching, feet grounding. So we exhale, palms come together, Anjali Mudra. We start to drop that right knee, untuck right toes, coming into that low lunge. Again, pushing down through that left foot, so we lift up slightly, finding that right angle. And as we exhale, we allow ourselves to ease into that lunge, keeping core, upper body, everything engaged. So we're not allowing everything to be floppy here. We want to keep everything switched on, so we're just finding that lift. Closing down through the eyes, either taking that interlace on top of the knee, or maybe taking hands down either side of the foot, runner's lunge for that support. Wherever we are here for this pause, just allowing ourselves to tap into the breath. So seeing if you can keep that focus to the inhale and to the exhale. And also keep an awareness of how the body's feeling. So we always stay with the breath, we stay with sensation within the body. Option from here to take that right foot towards the right glute, so take a bend through that right knee. And maybe you stay with that active variation, so you don't take the hand around, or if you do, use the hand, maybe left hand rests on the knee, right hand comes around, finds the foot, and we just draw in very gently here. You might find that lift through the chest, take that gaze forwards. So one more inhale wherever you are. You've got that back leg up, gently releasing it on the exhale, not letting it ping back. So gentle release, hands come down to support. And then we start to draw the hips back, straighten through that left leg, left foot flexes back towards us. We find that half split. And again, we undulate here. So as we inhale, see if that breath can lift the chest up slightly higher. As we exhale, finding that release. Just taking 2 or 3 here. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhale. Exhale, soften. From here, slowly we start to move forwards again towards that runner's lunge. So foot comes back down, we find that bend. And then we take hands down towards the mat. See if we can swivel this left leg back behind us, coming into that tabletop position again, pushing down through the hands, left toes tucked under. We push down through the left foot, taking that gaze forwards. Taking just one more inhale here. Exhale, releasing that knee. And from here, again, tucking under toes, rising back, downward facing dog. So we inhale, this right leg again is going to sweep towards the sky, coming straight into that open hip. As we exhale, we draw the right knee towards the right wrist, and we release down, untucking back toes. So we're coming into our pigeon. In our pigeon, option to take a block or a cushion underneath that right hip, so you've got a little bit more lift here. And again, we're going to find these undulations. So we play with pigeon to find that pose that works for us. So it's slightly different for everyone. This foot might be quite near down towards the groin. Might be that the foot is a little bit higher up. So we want to be feeling the pigeon through that right quad, through the right glutes. So just finding that sweet spot. It's neither too much nor too little. And then when we're ready, we start to fold down. And again, you might take a block or a cushion here under the head as well for supports. Anything that softens. And just really allowing the body here to let go. So you might scan through the body, just check in. Is there anywhere that feels like it's working hard? If there is, just seeing if we can be aware of it and see if we can try and use that breath to switch off. So the same way we notice that tension at the start of the practice, we scanned through the body, we checked in, noticed if there was any tension anywhere. If there is, just seeing if you can send that breath to where the tension is. The exhale, seeing if you can allow it to start to dissipate. Also noticing if there are any distractions here. So it's so normal as soon as we start to slow down through the body that the mind starts to become busy. So again, it's all about just being aware of what's coming up. Taking just one more inhale here. In through the nose, out through the mouth, and then slowly starting to peel the head up, using those hands to help you. We push down through the hands, we tuck under the back toes, and challenge here to maybe sweep back to that three-legged dog. So right leg coming back up towards the sky for just a breath, and then releasing that right foot back down. Checking in with that alignment, coming back to your downward facing dog, and we move over to the other side. So as we inhale, left leg sweeps up straight into that open hip, bent knee. So we exhale, left knee towards that left wrist, and we place it down, untuck back toes, starting to settle in. So again, taking a few moments on this side to just find what works for you. Being aware that props you might take on one side might not work on the other. So you might just have to check in and see where feels comfortable. When you've got that positioning that works, slowly starting to ease down. And also remembering that as you ease down here, the position that you come into at the start of a slightly longer hold like this, there's always the possibility that that position after a couple of breaths might start to feel
uncomfortable, or it might not be the spot that's working. So there's always that welcoming response to change where you are. So to adjust, to lift up. So this is why we always ask these questions. How is the body feeling? There are markers of where we should be. So if that response to the question is ever, this is not feeling right, or this isn't serving me, really allowing yourself to readjust, to move, to explore where would work. So we never hold ourselves somewhere that doesn't work. We allow ourselves to be playful with the practice. We want the practice to serve us. So again, easing in here. Everything softening. We allow ourselves to let go. Next inhale that we find again, ever so slowly starting to ease away, lifting through that head. Using hands again to help just start to prop you up. Tucking under those right toes. Again, challenge, maybe you lift that left leg straight back up so we come into a three-legged dog, and then we release back down, downward facing dog. From here, dropping down through the knees, untucking the toes, lowering onto the belly. So we soften, find that ease. You might take those feet a little bit wider than hip distance and just release the head. And take some wiggles here. So move the hips side to side. Again, just easing in, noticing how everything is feeling. And then from here, slowly lifting up again, and we're going to roll straight onto the back. So from wherever we are, rolling backwards and taking head down towards the floor and taking those knees in towards the chest. So we're grounding that lower back, lumbar spine with the hands on the knees, just starting to find some circles. So the hands push the knees away, and then we open knees out and draw them back together. So just finding a few in this direction. And then a few the other way, so changing up, taking those knees apart first, away from the body, and then drawing them back in. And just a few. And then just check in with the hip space. So how are the hips feeling? Ask yourself that question before we start to move towards our Shavasana. So we have two options here. Either if the hips are feeling nice and open, nice and juicy and free, taking feet together, taking knees out to the side, finding a Supta Badakanasana, and just resting the hands, palms facing up on the thighs. So that's one variation. If we've done a lot of hip opening today and the hips are feeling a little bit tired, maybe we take those feet just a little bit wider than hip distance, so a little bit wider than the mat, and just drop those knees together. We find restorative rest. And we might take those hands either side of the body, palms facing up. So wherever you are, whichever you choose, taking a moment to really settle. So if you could be just 10% more comfortable here, what would you do? And maybe it's simply lifting up those shoulders, placing them back down. Maybe you grab hold of a blanket, so whatever it may be. Allow yourself to do that, and then see if you can just drop into that stillness again. So softening, easing in here. And we just come back to that breath. So again, as we find that ease, using that breath, it not only facilitates our movement, but it facilitates our stillness. So as we inhale here, as always, just sending the breath to where it needs to go. So we've got these energy channels running through the body that we would call our nadis. So the energy is running through us all around the body. And as we exhale here, we find a release of tension. So wherever we're sending that breath to, be it the hips, be it the back, as we exhale, we allow that tension to dissipate. The body releases. Everything softens down in towards the mats. So we really allow the body here to be heavy. Just keeping that attention, that awareness to the breath. So wherever we may be, next inhale that we take, either if the knees are together, just starting to slowly pull them apart. If the knees are open to the sides, using the hands to help you. And just drawing knees back in towards chest. Hands around the knees, just finding a gentle rock here side to side. And then ever so slowly in your own time, so there's no rush. Just using those hands to help you, keeping the eyes closed, to slowly come up towards seated. So we're not worrying too much here about where we end up. Just coming to wherever feels comfortable. And then releasing the hands back down on towards the thighs. Palms facing up. So we started class palms facing down, that grounding sensation. We're now allowing ourselves to surrender. So surrendering to the practice, letting go. Just a few seconds here, feeling into that stillness. And then just dropping chin down through chest. Just taking hands onto the heart space. So one hand on the heart, the other on top. And we seal this practice with a releasing breath. So breathing in through the nose. Exhale, release out through the mouth. Slowly we start to flatten open eyelids. We take a soft gaze down in front. And we just take a moment here as we ease back into the physical space to take a moment of gratitude. So say thank you to yourselves for finding the time to practice today. And also thank you to the amazing lineage of teachers that have come before us. So I hope that's one that you really enjoyed. I hope it's one that you can come back to. And I just want to take a moment to say a big thank you to everyone who's practicing with me online. It really warms my soul to know that people are getting a lot out of the classes. If you did enjoy, please leave me a comment, let me know. And I hope you all have a lovely rest of the day.